Welcome to our first module on front-end development, beginning HTML. So in order to develop in HTML, we're going to use professional tools. We're going to use Visual Studio Code, which is open source, new, and has become very popular with front-end developers on all platforms, Windows, Linux, and Macs. It's not the similarly named Visual Studio, easy to confuse due to the very similar names. They're both from Microsoft. Visual Studio's first editions were in the early 1990s. It's commercial software, and its primary focus is programming for the Microsoft ecosystem, C++ and .NET development, desktops and service. So, as the Microsoft orientation has changed away from proprietary Microsoft software, they have been working more with open source. And you can see Visual Studio Code as part of that development effort on the part of Microsoft. Visual Studio Code is oriented more toward open source development than it is oriented toward proprietary Microsoft systems development. So Visual Studio Code can be found on code.visualstudio.com. So after you go there, run the installer, and when you install Visual Studio Code, make sure to enable the Open with Code options that you'll see as you work through the install wizard. Those are optional, and I don't think they're turned on by default, but it will make your life much easier if you enable the Open with Code options. So when we get into using Visual Studio Code, we'll find out that the Visual Studio Code has folder-based projects. So our code projects are folder-based, which is a trend for newer IDEs. So for us, a new project is the same thing as a new folder. Older IDEs such as Visual Studio and Eclipse have their own meta-project-like folder information. They call it different things. Eclipse calls it a workspace, for example. These provide more flexibility where project files are physically stored, that is, they don't have to be under the same folder structure. But in reality, source code is very rarely scattered across different folder structures. Source code should be managed in a single folder tree, and the newer IDEs really assume that. So we'll see as we'll see. All right. Next time we'll look at some code development using Visual Studio Code. Thank you.